Okay, so went on my trip, all the gear that I talked about earlier. Now you want to know how it all worked. Everything worked flawlessly except for two things, and I'll describe what those two things were right now. First of all, this USB hub, it worked great, no problem at all. When I plug it into power, this end here would get hooked into this adapter, which had a USB on one side and that SA2 pin on the other. Plug it in here, and then this gets hooked up to the SA2 pin on the bike. Okay, that was my plan. Day number 2, this failed. This no longer worked. Don't know why, it just stopped working. And everything else I could plug in to remove this from the system, and everything worked. So this is bad. Unfortunately, it happened on the second day out. So I was unable to charge all my devices while I was riding because of this failure here. I don't know why it failed. I don't know what happened to it, but it didn't work anymore. So that was one failure that I had. The second issue I had was these gloves are great. And I mentioned beforehand that when they get wet, it's hard to get your hands in the gloves. And that's putting it mildly. It is virtually impossible to get your hand in these gloves when either your hand or the gloves are damp inside. You can't do it. The lining on the inside bunches up and you cannot get your fingers in here, and it's just not useful. So I brought a second pair of gloves that are not heated. They're winter gloves as well, but they're not heated. But I think it's not the fault of the gloves necessarily. I mean, if it rains long enough and hard enough, and it did on this last trip, they're going to get soaking wet. Even though you got them plugged in, your hand may not be cold, but it's wet. So I need to look into if they have a galosh or a rain mitt that goes over these gloves. And that would be ideal. Then the glove stays dry and warm, and you can get your hand out of it easily and into it easily. Otherwise, you're stuck with putting your hand in your fingers like this because you can't get your fingers inside of the glove. So that's an upgrade I'm going to have to do for the next trip. And then this thing here that failed, I'll have to get a new one and see what the problem with that was. Otherwise, everything worked great. I didn't have any issues with any of the equipment, any of the gear. Everything worked just fine. So not too bad. All right? Okay, now you've heard that, you've seen the videos. Any comments, please leave them below, and hope to see you out on the road. Ciao.